we fly out to. The plan was to go out to Harare, which is the capital city of Zimbabwe. Stay at his mom's house, like where he grew up. His mom's like, I think she's still alive, but like barely. She's like in her 90s, and at that time, so this was 6 years ago, I think. She was still living there, and he would go visit maybe once a year, and then bring his wife and 3 daughters. So they basically did like a week stay at the house, and then we all got there at the end of their stay. So then we would go into this whole adventure from that. So like while we were at the house, we had like one nice dinner, like in a house, right?
Okay.
The last meal.
Truly. And
did she die right after?
No, for them.
No, for us. Like essentially before we were just like off to the wild and in the bush. And he was like in front of, he's like, Beth, he's talking to his wife. He's like, check the will. Or I want to tell you where the will is and blah, blah. He's like, this might be the trip that takes me. And we're like, hey, can you have that conversation like somewhere fucking else? So,
how wild.
Yeah. And he was serious. So,
it's a good conversation.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense if you really can die.
Yeah.
Fair.
So then the next, by the way, even at the house, even though it was like, this was the most luxury we were going to have, it's 60% unemployment in the capital city. I mean, it's like crazy. Like when you're driving down the street, it's just people are selling shit. Everybody's just standing around trying to sell you the thing they found in a garbage, it's like
it's simple.
A belt, and here's a one windshield wiper from whatever car, like, yeah,
really,
it's all day
like junk.
Yeah, just a little junk. And then like the flea market, it's like their version of like a swap shop, which is like a whole city, like a shanty town, and it's just shit that they're selling. Like, I mean, like the weirdest shit. We went up to a place. It's like a jar of like looked like dirt water, just brown water. I'm like, what is that for? He's like, I go, is that like could it fix a headache? He's like, yes. Like whatever you said is like it's what it's for, It's fucking just water with dirt in it. Basically, I think is really what it was. Like
really,
yeah. I had dried bugs there. They're selling just like the weirdest stuff, like tools that are like rusted, like like the tool section is rusty tool section. Anyways,
you have to start somewhere. That's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing. It's like
you're just trying to make money in any way that
you
can.
Yeah. This is the
and
best.
They're there every day. Yeah, they're there sitting there every day and like probably don't get a sale for like a week and a half at a time or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
it's crazy. Anyways, so we have dinner at the house. Like a little funny thing that happened that like worked out later was I go in the bathroom to take a dump, and Matt, one of the guys, sticks as like just kind of joking around. He puts his camera through the window and like snaps a photo of me, and I'm like sitting down there like this. I'm like, right? Kind of like when the light turned off. And okay, fast forward. The next day, by the way, at the house, like the water, like in the city, there's like no pressure. So like the in the shower, it's like a literal like drips coming out of the faucet head. And it would take like 45 minutes to try to take a shower. So like we all just ended up showering in the pool. Like we're in the pool with a bar of soap, basically.
Occasion shower.
Yeah. And in the shower, there's like spiders on the wall. I'm like, but they're like, that's normal there. It's like these spiders, they're like spiders the size of my hand, but they're like really skinny. Like, and they're like over my head that night when I slept. There was like 2 spiders on the ceiling that I'm just like staring at for an hour.
Not venomous. You'll be fine.
They're not, but like it's just it's like you're not used to it. It's weird. Anyways, so then the next day we get driven out like 4 hours, like hundreds of miles out to the bush to get dropped off where we're going to sleep overnight and then get picked up by these 2 locals that have the canoes for us, whatever. But on the way, another thing out there is like the government's so corrupt. There's not really cops. It's all like military basically, right? Mm-hmm. And the government are like, they're the ones that send out their military guys to go poach animals to bring those parts back to them to use for like stupid shit like aphrodisiacs and stuff is, what
they believe in. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll murder these, endangered rhinos for a boner you know,
well, they crush up the
right,
the horn and they drink it.
And it's like pseudoscience. It doesn't even work. Anyways, it's crazy. It's all fucked up. But so then we're driving out there, and then they have like checkpoints, like everywhere that are just bullshit, like to just suck money out of you, you know, and like they'll find something wrong with you. You have to have like it's like being on a boat in Florida, and they come and check, oh, do you have a safety jacket for everybody? So like in the car, you have to have a little orange vest for every person that's in the car. You have to have, there's like stickers on the windshield, and every one of them is a permit. One's a AM radio permit, FM radio permit, blah, blah, blah permit. I mean, it's like all shit that people that are already poor have to pay for all these things. They just suck all the money out of you for any excuse.
So they a little bit like our government is doing, right?
Well, just times like 1,000, right? It's like, yeah. So... Well, yeah, true here too. It's like
because we have tolls,
right?
It's the same thing
with crappy roads, like yeah. So so then we're driving, and then here's something there. You can't point a camera. Pointing a camera at like military there is like pointing a gun at a cop here.
Really?
They can shoot you, and there wouldn't even be like a.
Nobody would question.
Yeah, I mean, no investigation or something. You know, it's like, yeah, oh no, they pointed a camera at me, like took a picture. Like that's a, you know, it's a no-no, right? So most of us were learning some of this stuff before the trip, but not everybody got all of the information. So Matt we're driving down the road. We're in this pickup truck. It's like two of the guys are in the back, and we drove for hours in this little cramped pickup truck. So we're like squeezed in. There's two guys just sitting in the back of the bed. Driving around there was actually the scariest part because the roads are shit and everybody's flying down the roads. It's like potholes and stuff, and there's no line on the roads and the highways. So at night it's like very nerve-wracking going, 80 miles an hour in a shit truck vehicle with other vehicles flying by you, no road, no lights. And then so it's just your headlights and they're coming at each other. There's no separation line on the road, and every time you'd pass me, they'd like put on their blinker. I'm like, why are they putting on their blinker? He goes, that's so you know where the edge of their car is so you don't hit them. So as you're coming up, it's like their left blinker is on and then yours is on so you guys don't smash each other.
That's fair.
That's a good
thing.
Yeah. Anyways, and the roads are tight too. Like they're skinny, it's like they don't like have a lot of concrete, I guess. So there's no cruising lane in Zimbabwe. The HOV lane does not exist.
Wait, do they have an electric plug for the Tesla?
No.
So backwards.
I know. It's crazy. They don't have an electric plug for their house. So they we're driving down. We're coming up to a checkpoint. Matt's taking photos of this. It's like a van in front of us that had a big stack of bikes tied to the top of it. So it was just like he thought it was a cool photo.
Yeah.
As we're coming to a checkpoint, he's got his big like 24-70 lens on there, and he's taking pictures. And all of a sudden, we see the cop guy or whatever, military guy. He's like pointing at our car, like flagging us in. And I'm like, oh fuck! I'm like, camera. We were like, yo, put your camera. He's like, oh, too late. So we get flagged now. We get pulled over. This is on our way out. This is like that second day.
You're so close.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god. We're like, this is how we're gonna die. Like, all the beautiful animals that could kill us, and this is it. Like the highway stop because of the camera. So we get pulled over, and the guy. It's a very charged up. Like the energy is bad, right? He's like yelling, and so it's kind of like he's like looking for a reason to get mad. So because then it's also a group of like white foreigners that like, all right,
what kind of language do you speak over there?
Like, just kidding. No, no. They're speaking like a dialect that, but yeah, they're speaking English, and then so there are sort of like mixes of like Rhodesian dialect and stuff. I don't remember exactly.
Where is Zimbabwe on the Africa map?
Kind of low right. But like 2/3 of the way down.
Okay,
country.
So you have the thing here, and then it's like.
And then below that, like South Africa is like at the very bottom.
Oh, okay. So it's right up over.
But it's huge. Yeah, it's like up and to the right.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Was I right on there?
It's circle.
Yeah, so we get pulled over. The guys have us all get out of the car. I'm like, oh fuck, man! Like we're going to African jail. And Matt's trying to show him like that he was just taking pictures of the thing. He's like, and the guy's like pissed, like yelling at him. And then all of a sudden they get to the picture of me taking a dump, and he starts cracking up. And I was like,
that's good.
Yeah, and I'm like, like, and that changed the whole situation.
The whole tone of everything.
That's it.
And you got to go on your way.
Yeah, it lightened the whole mood. Because they sent us off.
That's the guy.
That's the luckiest dump I ever took.
Well, probably in his head, he was like he could relate to that photo.
Yeah, he's been there.
He's been there on one side or the other, and then maybe he could relate to that. Maybe he thought it was funny.
Yeah, he did. He thought it was great, and they didn't take any money from us. Like
funny
nothing. Back to we get through the checkpoint. Okay, because of the photo. And then we get driven out to like the middle of the bush. It wasn't like in some park or something. It wasn't some designated area. It was just like, here's
the bush.
Yeah, the point on a map that these guys are going to meet us, or we're close enough to meet them at some place in the morning. And as soon as we get out of the truck, it's pitch black. You can see every star in the sky because we're hundreds of miles away from the city. There's no noise pollution or light pollution. And like as soon as we get out here, like a lion roaring, elephants trumpeting, hyenas like squealing right around us in the bushes. Like they are the closest things to us. Bats are flying over us. It's crazy. It was like, here we are, like in their backyard. And
how big is a hyena?
They're like a big fucking dog. Like that looks like a dog that.
So it's not like
mangled.
Yeah, with giant shoulder blades and just like, and actually as we were laying down. And it was funny because the main guy from our group joked early. He said, he's like, we'll draw straws to see who sleeps on the end of the group at night. And you're like the most exposed. Because we didn't have a tent. We just put a tarp down on the dirt and then have our sleeping bags on that.
Did you draw the...
No, I ended up on the end of the group though. We didn't do that night, but I ended up on the end of the group, and then at some point
they were okay sacrificing you.
Yeah, they were. I think they also knew I had good snacks in my bag, and that like they would have got them if I got taken. So we're laying down, and I think like maybe 2 hours in the night. It's kind of hard to sleep out there. Like
you don't feel at peace.
Not really. And I didn't even hear anything, but my buddy next to me pops up with his flashlight, and there's a hyena like 20 feet from us just walking through our little camp. Like, yeah. And I'm just like,
20 feet is not far.
Like, yeah, no, it was like very close.
Let me guess, the main guy's like sleeping like a baby.
Oh, he was passed out. We tried to like, tried to fuck with him and get bats to fly. We put little glow sticks on him. Because we were using glow sticks at night to like kind of help light the area a little bit, but we laid some on him while he was sleeping because the bats seemed to be attracted to the light, and like they were like coming down like toward him, and he was just passed out, like, you know, so comfortable. Yeah, and then the next day we meet up, we connect with the guys who have the canoes, we get on the river, we launch. We have like 8 days now to just do like 20 kilometers a day down the Zambezi River.
8 day?
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's basically like the 3 things that will fuck you up are the sun will fuck you up. So I had a little like G-Shock watch I wore that I put a timer for like every 3 hours to just remind me to like put a little sunscreen on. Mm-hmm. But a couple of the guys just didn't bring much sunscreen. So like 3 days into the trip, they're just covered in mud all day.
Yeah, because it's protective.
Yeah. But then at the end of the trip, their skin was falling off. Like,
really?
Literally, like, yeah, like big pieces like of their arm skin and stuff. Yeah, they were fucked up. The sun will fuck you up. The animals obviously can fuck you up. Everything can kill you out there. And then...
But how cool to die fighting a tiger.
That'd be cool, I guess, for the tiger.
Like if you have to choose, I don't know.
I'd rather win, so I have the story to tell. It's not that cool if you don't get the story.
Yeah, that's true.
If you die, you don't get the story. You
would buy a tiger.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Your friends get the story. That's kind of crazy.
That's kind of crazy.
Also, the other thing that fucks you up out there on the river is a log. So if you're going down in a canoe,
you get stuck.
Well, you don't see like a log that's right under the water. Mm-hmm. So if you hit it, it can flip your canoe. which will then now you're food for the crocs.
Oh, okay. Is it deep or like
no? So
not
sometimes we would go. Well, we went with the current, and sometimes we would hit these. When we went, there was like a big drought, and that was a problem. In fact, before the trip, the main guy, he's like my intel on the ground there is telling me that there's a drought and the river's narrow, and that means the animals are more condensed and they're fighting over territory and food, and so they're more aggressive and blah blah blah, and that we shouldn't go. He goes, but we must press on.
This
like,
guy
of course,
sounds amazing.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's like a real character from a movie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
oh,
so
cool.
This is what I want to be like when I'm old.
Yeah, and we would hit parts because of the river drought, because it was low, that all of a sudden we just go, and we hit sand, and we're like, fuck, now we got to walk it. And now you're like in the river pulling your canoes, and you're like looking over here, there's a giant crocodile chilling. Like, and they told us before the trip that there was a large croc for every 10 square meters of the river. Like, to expect that much underneath you. So you don't see them.
Holy shit.
They're just there. There was kind of a, we even had to like hear the protocol for like if you fell in the river.
For 10 meters, every 10 square meters?
Here's a photo of one of these. They're dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit. That is close.
Oh, yeah, no, these are like, yeah, that we're just passing by.
Have you seen this?
Mm-hmm.
But there's actually hippos like everywhere.
Those those are the worst though.
Hippos fuck you up, yeah.
They kill you just for fun.
Yeah,
they don't even eat you.
they don't eat you. They eat plants. This is a hippo.
Very territorial.
Yep. This is a hippo that like charged my canoe.
Whoa.
He was charging you now?
Yeah.
Can you send us that? We'll make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Holy shit.
Yep. Because and like look at this is like what we look like. You know, I mean, this is me taking a picture of the guys, but that's, by the way, it's not like there were other canoers out there. It was like we didn't see people for 8 days. We were like the only ones.
Nice.
For this whole trip, and
then so the hippo was charging you, and then you took a photo, and then the guy.
Well, because my other guy he chopped its head off.
Nice.
And
with the sword.
Yeah. Shoved the sword up his ass. So no, you have to challenge the hippo. Is what you do.
Yeah.
You gotta
show dominance.
There's some animals you're better running away from, and some better staying together as a group. Some better going in your separate directions. Some better to stay put. Actually, one of the guides that was with us. So we had 2 guides technically, but they didn't really like. Because we had a plan. It wasn't like they had to tell us where to go. We just went down the river for these 8 days and had to end up at a spot at the end where we called in that, like, okay, this is where they're going to pick us up. Mm-hmm. And they stayed in a tent. And they were like, what are you guys doing? They like thought we were idiots. Anyways, so, yeah.
So that was...
They're probably making fun of you guys.
Yeah, for sure they were making fun of us. Like these
Look at these idiots.
Yeah, like
we have tents.
Adventure seeker morons. Yeah, so we would sometimes have to like carry our canoes through, and I was gonna say that when the hippo's charging, the guy, I had one of the locals in my canoe, and he's standing up yelling at it, like kind of like if a dog was running at you and you have nowhere to go, like you're just gonna like no hey, like he's like yelling at it, and he's smacking his paddle on the water, and it sounds like a whip cracking because it's like he's just hitting that thing, and basically. They will charge, and if you do show dominance, they'll back down for the most part.
Good to know.
Yeah. So, in fact, the bad thing is when you see a lone hippo. That's what that was, a lone hippo. Mm-hmm. So when we go down the river, if we saw a pod, so let's say you see like 15 hippos, there's probably 30 there because they kind of take shifts going above the water and under. So they just like to stay hidden, and also their skin is actually very sensitive to the sun. So all day they just stay soaked in the water, barely poking out, just their eyes and their ears. And then at night they go and feed on the grass. They come out. Okay, so they're like very sensitive. They're like big sensitive fucking killers. So then they're like taking shifts. So you can almost assume there's about twice as many as you see. And then if you see one on its own. Here's why it's really bad. So, like, let's say we're going down the river and like, all right, hippo's on that. We had 4 canoes, so we would relay the message. Like, I was in the front canoe, and hippo's on the right, hippo's on the right, hippo's on the right, you know, and just get it back to the. So we all know start going left. If you saw a lone hippo, you're like specifically you would call that out, and that would mean get as much distance and haul ass like through. Like you want speed and distance because a lone hippo is like. Here's what happens in every pod. There's a dominant male. There's the alpha, right? And he is the one that fucks all the bitches and makes all the babies, and he's the man. Okay, so the bull, right? He's the guy in charge. He's the big dog at top. But at any point, maybe one of the pups that grows up can challenge him for that spot. And whenever he is challenged and there's a fight for that number one spot, whoever loses, whether it's like the pup that grew up in that pod or one that came over from another pod and challenged, they're ousted forever. He can never come back in the pod. So he could have been the man for like 2 years, and then now he's never allowed back. And he could have grown up there, won the fight, been in position for however long, but gets in another battle for that spot, out, he's never allowed back in.
Like apes.
Yeah. So he's like the dude downtown at the end of the night that's like knows he's not getting laid, so he's just trying to pick a fight. He's just angry. That's the only action he's gonna get is if he like So that's what the lone hippos are. They've been kicked out of a pod and they're in that in between phase because his only option is to go fight his way into another pod. Or I don't know if they can just go kind of work their way into one without like battling it out. I don't know. But anyways, when they're in between by themselves, they're pissed off and they're just super aggressive because they're like their life sucks. They're like a loser now, And when you go by them, they're like out of the water, like much more aggressive stance. Like they are like looking for a fight, basically. So that's why when they always would charge. They'd be so like you'd be so far away from one, and you'd be like, and it start coming at you for like you're like, dude, fucking, we're way over here. Like fuck you, So, but sometimes you're in a weird part of the river. There's not much space to give it the proper space. So that one was crazy because if we went to the right, there was like a whole pod. And then it was him, and then the bank, and between him and the bank was like, I don't know, 30 yards. So we're like just hugging the bank, trying to go as fast as possible, and he stopped like 15 yards short of us. So like in that picture, he's just like, and they are fast. Like they haul ass. There's some video on YouTube where there's one chasing a motorboat and keeping up with it.
Really?
They create a wake around their head. It's like they are charging through the water. They're strong as fuck. It's crazy. Yeah. So it's like a little like your butthole puckers up in that moment for sure. But you also after the first one and you kind of realize that like there's a good chance that they'll back down if you guys are doing the right move. Yeah. You kind of gain a little confidence about the situation. So that's why that time I took a picture of it because like I was pretty certain he had it handled, and then I would get the picture. Yeah. So it was a very cool.
That's cool. It's a sick picture.
Yeah. Yeah, we would catch tigerfish for food and those things. I didn't even know what those were or that they existed, but they look like piranhas on steroids. Like, because I think if you think of like what's a bad fish that you don't want to encounter, it's like people think of like a piranha or something like that. It's like, oh, a little guy that sharp teeth being the main thing of why it's bad.
What's a tiger fish?
Oh my God! Hold on, ready?
Yeah, this is one I don't know actually.
Okay, so this is a baby one.
It
right
looks like almost like a tarpon,
Holy
but
shit, that's a baby. No way.
That's a baby. Okay.
Whoa, they're
but look at if we caught one that was that little, we can't eat that. So yeah, so look at this.
Oh no.
Yeah, so you couldn't put your fingers in the water because those suckers are everywhere. You don't want your body in the water because there's crocs everywhere. And then you want your canoe to move fast through the water because there's hippos pissed off.
Like a really intense game of hot lava.
Yeah. In fact, if you
fell... The floor
fell...
is hot. That's what it was.
The floor's hot.
The floor is hot,
The
yeah.
fucking Zambezi is hot.
Yeah.
The water's hot.
Yeah. Oh, and then you're worried about poachers because poachers, if they see... he told us before the trip, he's like, we can't be mistaken as poachers because then the parks rangers will shoot us. But if we get mistaken as park rangers, then the poachers will shoot us. So one of the guys wore like a Lion King Hakuna Matata shirt. And it's kind of hard to be either one of those camps, you know, when you look like.
I was thinking about a flag saying I'm a tourist or whatever, and then that's kind of
like media or something. I don't know. Yeah.
National Geographic.
Yeah, just a guy. Yeah, I don't know, but it was a epic adventure. Maybe the moral of that story is like go have dinner with strangers. You never know. Like you could go have the trip of a lifetime years later. Just it's simple, you know.
That is